Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to check out the Scout tier list for 2023. This tier list will break down into 4 different tiers. We have S tier, A tier, B tier, and C tier. This whole tier list is going to give you guys a better understanding of how strong are the Scout classes in the current patch. This tier list is pretty simple, by the way, because S tier for the strongest and C tier for the weakest. Anyway, before we start, one disclaimer, this is not an official tier list. I rank some of these classes based on their performance, skill set, as well as their class Vivora. First off, we have Assassin, A tier. Assassin has a universal critical damage buff that works on every single scout classes. This class also comes with multiple debuff that can reduce enemies' accuracy and evasion, but also preventing them from receiving any healing effects or using skills. Assassin also has an iframe skill called Annihilation, which is extremely useful in both PvE and PvP content. To top that off, Assassin also has a mobility skills called Instant Acceleration. It also comes with stun attribute effects, which you can use it to chase down the target in PvP or TBL content. Assassin Vivora apply a debuff for 30 seconds after using the skill called Piercing Heart. The debuff creates a convert every 1 second, it stacks up to 6 times and increases movement speed during the stealth buff. Your character will remove the debuff by using Assassin skills, dealing damage up to 5 times with piercing effects. The damage is scaled up 100% of the Piercing Heart skill factor per hit. The level 4 Vivora effects reduce the Annihilation cooldowns by 15 seconds. Next up, we have Outlaw, A tier. Outlaw is crazy strong on so many levels. Outlaw is one of the best PvP scouts classes in the game because it has a skill called Throw Sense, which applies multiple debuffs that can silence, reduce enemy accuracy, as well as their evasion status. Outlaw can also stun or dodge enemy skill while activating skills like Brick Smash, Mangle, Blind Fire, and Rampage. Interestingly, the Rampage skills also has an art attribute that can freeze enemy for 2 seconds. To kind of top up more evasion status, Outlaw has a skill called Bully, which increases your character evasion status by a huge amount. Outlaw Vivora costs Rampage to deal additional damage. Level 4 Vivora increases Mangles and Blind Fire's final damage by 100%. On to the third class is going to be Squire, A tier. There are many reasons why I'm putting Squire in the A tier category, even though this is not a DPS or a PvE character. Squire provides some of the best buffs in the game, which include equipment maintenance, leather repair buffs, and food table buff. The food table buff is essential to in-game content because it provides your character additional status like HP and SP boost, lower your character regeneration time, and providing additional buff like area attack ratio or area defense ratio. Unfortunately, this class does not have any Vivora class effect. Next up, we have Kosher, C tier. Kosher is more like a hybrid filter DPS class that heavily depending on your main choice of weapons. Kosher has 2 types of skills that utilize dagger and pistol weapon. Interestingly, Kosher Vivora heavily focus on dagger weapons because of hedging droplet skills. Kosher Vivora apply 40% minimum crit chance for hedging droplet skill and deal 60% more final damage when landing the critical attack with the skill. Kosher Vivora level 4 increased the new hauling number of hits by 4. Basically, it doubled the damage of the skills. Overall, this class is pretty underwhelming and not as strong as most people expected. Coming right up, we have Shinobi, B tier. This is one of my favorite Scouts classes, but unfortunately, I have to put it in the B tier category, and let me explain why. The majority of Shinobi DPS is heavily depending on your clone skill. Each Shinobi clones can deal 25% of the original damage. Shinobi Vivora enable your character to create a permanent shadow clones. It cannot perform basic attack, but the clone can copy all Shinobi skills. The level 4 Vivora effect increased kunai final damage by 100%. This class could have been A tier or S tier if Shinobi clone dealt 50% of the original skill damage. It has 100% uptime and higher skill factor. Next, we have Thaumaturge, A tier. This is a peer support class that can apply additional raw damage buff and remove attack speed cap. Apparently, this is one of the best class that synergize extremely well with auto attack class like Chaplains, SR, Core Shooter, and Knockmoy. Thaumaturge Vivora apply the grow buff to the target under the swell body buff for 12 seconds, increasing their final damage by 10%. The level 4 Vivora effect increases swell hand attack properties by 2.5%, which is extremely good by the way. Enchanter, S tier. This class is very similar to Thaumaturge, but 3 times better. Enchanter has 5 different buffing skills, which include accuracy, block penetration, movement speed, critical raise, and raw attack status buff. Enchanter Vivora apply an additional bonus physical and magic attack by 2.5% for overrate 4 skill. The level 4 Vivora effect reduces the attack cycle and SP consumption for Enchant Aura by half. Enchant Aura is not as great as most people think it is. It does additional damage but not as good as any other class Vivora at level 4. It is better to stick with level 1 Enchanter Vivora. Linkers A tier. Linker is a support class that is very similar to Thaumaturge and Enchanter. Unlike those two classes, Linker offers great support ability for other scout classes like Joint Penalty, Hangman, Electric Shot, and Lifeline. Lifeline skill is interestingly powerful because it provides additional status to yourselves and party members. There are some cases where players utilize Lifeline to provide additional raw damage with int or strength status. Linker Vivora have the number of the link target when calculating the shared amount of damage for Joint Penalty skill. The level 4 Vivora effect increased the Electric Shot final damage by 100%. Next up, we have Rogues, B tier. Rogue is a PvP class. This class is specifically designed for PvP content. It is also pretty decent in PvE content as well. This class has a lot of debuff like stun, silent, and disarm, but I feel like Rogue could have been A tier if it didn't have so many requirements like backstabbing enemy, using feint to increase final damage, etc. Rogue Vivora change your character basic attack after knife throw to throw daggers. Continue for 10 seconds by the way, dealing 60% of the throw dagger skill factor and increasing damage by 30% for 3 seconds after throwing the third daggers. The level 4 Vivora effect increased the backstab final damage by 100%. Coming up next, we have Schwarzer Reiter, A tier. SR is a pure auto attack class that heavily focuses on additional damage status. This class requires a lot of investment for endgame content, but it is also one of the best class that synergize extremely well with Enchanter and Thaumaturge. SR is also crazy strong in TPLs and PvP content because it can attack enemy while moving around the map. SR also has a lot of build diversity between auto attacks, caster, and channel builds. It can also become a sub DPS class for Hakkapeliter class. SR Vivora increased pistol damage by 200% and attack speed by 40% under the Limicon buff. Level 4 Vivora increased the attack speed to 60% and increased the maximum serial bullet stacks by 30%. The next one is going to be Bullet Markers, B tier. The Bullet Marker is very similar to SR, but it has more damage output from using skill rather than auto-attacking enemies. Bullet Marker also has a very similar playstyle as core shooters where you have to activate your skill for multi-hit purposes to trigger Pleiades and the right retribution arc. The class is pretty decent by the way, but the damage output is not as strong as most people expected. This is definitely the best starting class if you're trying to get into Scout. Bullet Marker Vivora decreased the cooldown of RIP and MD by 10 seconds and applied the freeze bullet effect to RIP skills. The level 4 Vivora effect changed 1 stack of overheating buff to 1 stack of outrage buffs after casting outrage, maximum of 30 stacks. Oritos, A tiers. Oritos has a lot of AoE damage and it works extremely well in field farming category. Ardito can heal themselves and restore stamina. The most interesting part about this class is the class Vivora. Ardito Vivora throw a grenade into the nearby area every quarter of a second when casting Tag Leos, and the damage is scaled off 50% of Granata's skill factor per hit. The damage is reduced by halves against boss and character targets. The level 4 Vivora increased Tag Leo's final damage by 100%, so the best way to play Ardito is mixing this class with other channel class like Sheriff. Next up is going to be Sheriffs, S tier. Sheriff damage output is insanely high in terms of single target and AoE damage. This class has so many different playstyles where you can mix and match with other classes like SR, Hakkapeliters, Bullet Marker, and even Ardito. Sheriffs also provide your character a 150% crit rate bonus if you unlock related attributes for the West Ray skill. The crit rate bonus will reduce by 5% every second. To make it even more interesting, Sheriff Vivora reduced the West Ray cooldown by 25 seconds, which means players can use West Ray skill every 5 seconds to get an enormous amount of crit rate bonuses. Sheriff Vivora apply 3 stacks of reload every 5 seconds and reset the cooldowns of aiming shot after using West Ray buffs with 10 reload stacks. The level 4 Vivora effects increase the final damage by 100%. Rangda B tier. This is a damage over time class with a bunch of different debuffs that can reduce enemy accuracy, critical resistance, evasion, and movement speed. This class has a weird playstyle between PvE and PvP content. It's somewhat pretty decent in PvP but not that great in PvE. I could be wrong here by the way, but this is how I feel after trying out Rangda. Rangda Vibora apply 4 stacks of Kelatihan debuffs in the current level after casting Luca. This caused Luca's skill to trigger a curse stagger debuffs which deal damage based on Luca's skill factor lasting up to 10 seconds. The level 4 Vibora increased the Kusakan's final damage by 100%. Next up we have Clowns A tiers. This class is just straight up damage with a few gimmick playstyles. Players can summon knife on the ground with spinning knives and random cast skills. After that, you can utilize Climax to do extra damage with any leftover knife that you have on the ground. If your character needs more knife, you can use Fatal Roulette to deal damage and summon extra pocket knife on the ground. Player can also throw out an extra Jaguar with Shinobi clones, so that's actually pretty interesting by the way if you ever want to maximize out the Clown's dagger ability. The Clown Vibora throw an additional daggers as the pocket knives in front of Climax while activating the Climax skills, dealing 25% of Climax skill factor and hitting up to 10 times up to 10 enemies. The level 4 Vibora increased the Fatal Roller final damage by 100%. Hakkapeliters A tier. This is probably the weirdest class that I have ever seen. It has a lot of synergy for pistol class with channeling skills, so you're looking at sheriffs and SR. Hakkapeliter also require players to mount their companion, so yeah, I feel like this class is specifically designed for SR as a secondary or a sub DPS. However, it is pretty good if you're playing Hakkapeliters with class that has a lot of channeling skills. Hakkapeliter's Vibora increased the ankle shot and triple charge skill damage by 50%, and the level 4 Vibora effects increased the number of infinite assaults hit by 2 times against boss monster, increasing the channel duration by 1 second when defeating the target during the infinite assaults, maximum of 10 seconds. And finally, we have Jaguar S tier. Jaguar is the strongest scout class at the moment. This class is somewhat gimmicky because you have 2 different playstyles where it requires players to build a stack from using the skills, and then you can use the stack to transform into a full Jaguar. When you transform into a full Jaguar, it also empowers your Jaguar skills as well as your basic attack. This is where it gets interesting. You can either play a full auto attack Jaguar with Swift Arts or the caster Jaguar with Divine Retribution. This class is also similar to Llama where you have to build stack to produce an enormous amount of damage. The Jaguar Vibora increased the duration of Jaguar stand by 2.5 seconds when using Jaguar attack skills during the stance. The increasing values of Jaguar stand final damage is also alleviated. The level 4 Vibora effect causes your character to receive an Onslaughter buff for 10 seconds when using Jaguar stance. The Onslaughter effects cause all your Jaguar skills to always deal critical attacks. Player can pause the buff duration when using stealth, and the stealth status won't be removed even if they receive attack. That is all for the video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sanochi and I will see you all in the next video. Later!